So this is my Thunder Knights Dragon deck from Dragon World. This is Thunder Knights Iron Fist Dragon. We have another card with Thunder Knights in its card name on the field. This card gets the ability to move, so you can move it to a empty monster zone on your side of the field during your opponent's battle phase, battle step. And he is a 2000 attack, 3000 defense, 2 crit. This is Thunder Knights leader, Commander Farney. His call card is page 1 gauge. All cards with Thunder Knights in its card name on your field gets +1 critical and move. So I like that. More damage and the ability to move around when your opponent declares attacks and stuff. Especially if your center is open and your opponent's trying to come at you. You can move into the center, or you can move out of the center so you can play a card that requires you to have no monsters in your center in order to play, stuff like that, obviously. This is Thunder Knights Battle Axe Dragon. His call cost is 2 gauge. He's a 5000 power, 5000 defense with 4 crit, which is why you pay the 2 gauge. This is Thunder Knights Drum Bunker Dragon. Call cost of pay 1 gauge, and you may put a card with Thunder Knights in its card name from your hand into this card's soul. So you can give him a card to give him, the Soul Guard ability, or not. But it'll be better to give him Soul Guard, right? He has move and penetrate, and if you give him a soul, he has Soul Guard. He's a 5k power, 4k defense, 2 crit. This is Thunder Knights Buster Sword Dragon. His call cost is 2 gauge. He has move, and he has double strike. After you attack with him, you can stand him and attack again. He has 3000 power, 2 crit, 6000 defense. One of my set spells, because in this deck I'm using mainly set spells, not any regular spells, just set spells. Battlefield Military Band, cast cost 1 gauge, and all monsters on your field get +1 power. Then I got Blue Dragon Knight's Proud Song of Soul to add to that power. It's another set spell, cast cost, pay 1 gauge. All your armor dragons on the field get power 2000. So obviously combo this with Military Battlefield Band, and then that's 3000. And of course all these cards stack. The more you play, the more power you will have. So you can make some really strong monsters, obviously. Alright. Second, move that out the way. Alright. This Green Dragon Knight's Songs of Ancient Lands. It's a set card, set spell. Pay 1 gauge for its cast cost. When your armor dragon enters the field, you gain a life. And pretty much every monster in this deck is a armor dragon. So obviously, every time you cast a monster, you'll gain a life. You only have 1 of these on the field, but 1 is enough, right? This is another set spell, cast cost, pay 1 gauge. When your armor dragon enters the field on the left or right, that means not the center, obviously, you pay 1 gauge. If you do deal 1 damage to your opponent, you may only use this ability once per turn. And that will be for this card. because it doesn't say you can only control one of these. So if you have more than one, you should be able to use your extra copies on the field and deal even more damage for every time you summon one armor dragon on your left or right zone. Anyway, and this is Red Dragon Knight's Song of Burning March. This is another set spell, Twin Attack Tactics. Cast cost 1 gauge. When a monster on your opponent's field is destroyed by a link attack, deal 1 damage to the opponent. So you can see a lot of damage dealing stuff. Especially you could combo this with this, because you'll obviously summon your armor dragons. So your opponent would take you pay a gauge, your opponent takes damage, and then you link attack, destroy your opponent's monsters to another damage. So that's 2 damage right there. So you're just dealing lots of damage. And you can only have 1 twin attack tactics on the field. And this is an impact card, which is Dragonic Punisher, as opposed to Gargantuan Punisher. The cast cost of this is pay 4 gauge and pay 2 life. You may only cast this card if your opponent has 4 life or less, and you have a size 2 or greater armor dragon on the field. Deal 4 damage to your opponent. More damage, of course, and that's how you finish off your opponent. Burning Bow. It's an item card, equip cost of 2 gauge, and you can attack with this card even if you have a monster in your center. So you can essentially have 4 attackers on the field. Because you can obviously have a monster in your center, 1 on your left, 1 on your right, and then equip this item to your flag, and there you go, you have 4 attacks. Because you can attack even while you have a monster in the center. That's the point, right? And this is the buddy of the deck. Thunder Knight's Harbor Dragon. 6,000 power, 6,000 defense, 2 crit, size 2. Call cost, pay 1 gauge, has move as its ability. And of course, this is Dragon World, so you got the Dragon World flag. And that's the end of the deck profile.